So here we are at the Manhattan Bridge, one day after a major blizzard hit New York City. As you can see, this bike lane is not plowed at all. It's completely useless. On the other side of the street here as well, there should be a bike lane right here. You can barely see any green, make out any green there, but the bike lane's completely covered in snow. And as you make your first approach here, there's a lot of slush that is going to turn into ice very shortly. That's just coagulating here. And look ahead, there's plenty of ice here, but even worse, you'll see directly across the street is supposed to be a bike lane that was named after the former Deputy Director of Transportation Alternatives, the Noah Budnick highway or something to that effect, and it is completely unplowed. This is why I am against most separated bike lanes, because they do not get maintained during bad weather. That bike lane will be out of use for I don't know how many weeks or even months. So now as we get onto the Manhattan Bridge itself, there's a cyclist here already. You can see how narrow this is. This is really now just a one-way bike lane. You can't fit more than one cyclist on this. There's no room for cyclists really in either direction, and you have to worry about ice forming here as well. So I'm not sure when the DOT will replow this bike lane, but they need to do it soon before massive amounts of ice form and cyclists can fall on their head and hurt themselves. Not all cyclists are aware of these dangers. You can see now how much snow there is here. And of course, you know, it's only one day after the storm, but still. So from up on this vantage point, you can see the Noah Budnick bike lane is no more. It's right down there by that traffic light. All the way down, you can follow that steel fence. It's supposed to be a two-way bike lane, and it's completely covered with snow. I don't know where the cyclists are expected to go there. But as we continue up the Manhattan Bridge, again, it looks like there was no real snow removal. It was just pushed to the side. The snow was pushed to the side. So I'm hoping the DOT will come out here again soon to put salt down or whatever it's going to take to make sure that ice does not form on this bridge. As you can see, I am going uphill, but for people going downhill, if they hit a sheet of ice on concrete on a narrow roadway with metal barriers on either side, God forbid they're not wearing a helmet, could be a real serious injury for some unsuspecting cyclist. So we're going to continue on this journey, because normally when I bike commute, I will take this bridge every day back and forth to work. It's a key artery for me to ride my bike into the city, which is my transportation of choice in New York City. So I'm going to take a little break on narration because I'm running out of ideas. But here you can see a cyclist coming downhill. I have to pull over to the side to let this guy through because it's so narrow here that two people cannot get through at the same time. And up ahead, you can see there is a pedestrian. You'd think in this weather, wow, it's below freezing right now, that there wouldn't be a pedestrian here. But yes, I've been complaining for months about pedestrians being on this bridge, creating an additional hazard for cyclists who need to get through here. It's one of the few places places in New York City for cyclists that are truly supposed to be only for cyclists. And here we can see the pedestrians probably heard me, and as I pass them safely, we'll see what I encounter next on this roadway. But you can see even the pedestrian had to move out of my way because there's not even enough room for a cyclist and a pedestrian side by side the way this bridge is currently plowed. So I guess I'm a little thankful that the DOT did something, but obviously there's more work that needs to be done, and you can never tell how long these snows will last. But cyclists are a pretty hardy group, at least some of us, and we want to be able to, ride on the bridge as much as any automobile traffic or subway users might want to. Because what's the point in having the bike path if it's not going to be maintained? These are not seasonal roads, but they should be accessible year-round to whomever wants to use them. And if they are made more usable, more people will come to ride on them, and you'll increase your cycling population year-round. Now this part is dangerous because I'm going downhill now, but I'm using one hand. I have my camera in my other hand, and my fingers are getting cold. But you can see here that it's barely a track really for cyclists. So fortunately I'm using mountain bike tires here, so I can handle a bit more of the friction that snow and ice produces. But for the average person, they might not use these types of tires. So either they're going to be on slick tires and potentially fall, or hopefully they will have an extra pair of tires that have knobbies and they can get better traction on the road. But again, with a pedestrian on the bridge, they have the south side of the bridge is dedicated to pedestrians, whereas this north side is dedicated to cyclists. So it makes no sense why there should be. Now look here, how much snow there is here. Was this ever plowed? Wow, I have to get off my bike. You can see there's no path here at all. It is complete snow. I didn't expect this. So the DOT definitely needs to get back up here ASAP, because who knows if it rains or what. This is all going to turn into ice. So now here's another cyclist coming in the opposite direction, and off in the distance you can see two walkers as well. So this bridge is being used. Ironically, more pedestrians, it seems, so far compared to cyclists, but maybe that's because the bridge is not cleared for cyclists, whereas for pedestrians, they're not going to have the same balance issues that cyclists would. So here's a whole flock of pedestrians coming through, and maybe we could ask them a question or two while I get over to the side. How you doing? Did you know there's a pedestrian side to the bridge, pedestrian side you can walk?
On the other side?
On the other side, yeah. This is supposed to be only for cyclists. Yeah, if you come on the other side, you can see it's identical to this. You can walk on that side.
On the other side.
What's that?
It looks better on the other side.
Yeah, there you go. Have a nice day. So you got it right from the pedestrian's mouth. It looks better on the other side. So the signage is really bad here as well. And there's been a spate of broken glass all over the bridge, which, is hard to point fingers. Where's it coming from? but more likely it seems like it's coming from people who are going slowly on the bridge. So that could be a cyclist who stops, but it's not likely that a cyclist would stop at a random point. They're going to stop where there's room for them to get off their bike and hang out. So it's more likely that the broken glass is coming from pedestrians who are going very slowly, and they just drop their glass right on the concrete pavement here. So now we're getting to the end here, and a couple years ago, this is a very dangerous spot where this ice, not only can this ice over, but it turns into a curved area, and you can't see people or cyclists or anything behind it. So you'll see as we go down this treacherous roadway that it becomes like a blind spot here. So imagine this with ice. Oh my God! And you see all this dripping water going underneath that water. So that's a source of where the ice is going to come from. But there's a real blind spot here, and I've seen cyclists fall really badly on this. Now we interrupted a little love affair, but did you know that there's a bike path on the or a pedestrian path on the other side? Huh? It's pedestrian path on the other side. This is for cyclists.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, you got to go around that way, but this is dedicated.
I guess the way we went on, I didn't realize it split two ways on the other side. The path that shoveled out was like.
Oh, it's not shoveled there?
Well, on the other side, it wasn't obvious. I didn't know there wasn't a little walking path. Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Have a nice day. Enjoy yourself. So here we are getting to the end of the bike path, and still a lot of snow, possible formation of ice. Very treacherous here. There's construction. The DOT or whoever needs to do their construction. So it's kind of like, obviously here it's a good idea to have a separated bike lane, but in general, I'm really against them because you can see how badly maintained they are, and this one in particular is, a very necessary artery between Brooklyn and Manhattan. How else are you going to get across? Most other streets, the bike lane kind of serves like a tertiary, tertiary usage. And so here again, right now, we come to the bike lane. Oops, I don't want to go through a red light. It's green light in the opposite direction, but I'm walking actually, so I don't know if I'm a pedestrian or a cyclist at this point. But here, this is the entrance to the bike lane. It's just a mass of snow. There's no way for cyclists to go through this, so their only option is to go the wrong way up a one-way street. That's the only thing that's cleared. The bike lane is not cleared at all at this point. So we're going to end the video here. We really wish the DOT took care of their bike lanes. This is a very strong argument against these separated bike lanes because they're not maintained. You can see there's about 20 pedestrians in the bike lane right now. I mean, so this is kind of ridiculous if you ask me.